All right, hi everyone. My name is Stefanie Johnson, and I work at Adventist University of Health Sciences in Orlando, Florida. And I'm the director of the grants office here. I've been doing this for about 5 years, and I'm just going to talk really briefly today, just give you kind of an overview of some thoughts on proposal writing. Probably things that some of you may know already, but for those of you that are kind of new to proposal writing, hopefully there'll be something in here that will help you begin to put some proposals together and pursue funding for your organization or your project. So first I wanted to mention a little bit about myself. I have a bit of an odd background. I began as an English major. So I love writing. It's my favorite thing, but I realized it might be difficult to find a job with just an English degree, so I went back to school again and became an accountant. So I love numbers and I love words both, so grant writing is a fantastic way to use both of those loves in one job. So I'm going to talk a little bit about writing first, and then I'll kind of finish with a few thoughts on budgeting as well and budgets, because I just really love that piece of it as well. So I wanted to mention at first that when people think about writing proposals, particularly if this isn't something that you do on a regular basis, something I hear all the time is, I'm just not really a great writer. It's not something that I enjoy doing or that I'm good at. And I think that's often because people think of a picture like the one that's up on the screen now, where writing looks kind of lonely and potentially a little bit tortured and difficult, and that writing is all about putting a pen to paper or hands to the keyboard, and that's difficult because it's hard to get started and to know you're worried that something is going to be perfect, and so you don't even get started. But I want to mention that writing is not a solitary act, and it doesn't have to be painful. And the fantastic thing about grant writing is that it is definitely a community effort. This is something that I love about proposal writing, is that it is generally something you will have to do as a team with other people. The reason for that, I'll just put up a little picture here from the school where I work, which is a health sciences school. And as you heard from those first slides, I have no background in nursing, radiologic sciences, pre-medicine, all the degrees that we offer. I'm an English major with an accounting degree, so I don't know anything about the things that I have to write about on a regular basis. So that is hugely fun for me. I get to meet with our nursing faculty, and I get to meet with our students, and I get to talk to them about what they do and learn about what they do, and then we construct a grant proposal together. So I bring my writing experience to the table, and they bring their nursing experience to the table, and we get to create something together. So writing is not lonely and it's not tortured. It's something that happens in community, and that's what I love about it. So if you're thinking about writing a proposal, I would say one of the first things to do is to reach out to other people and create a team that you can work with over time to make the best proposal possible. And I put a picture here of our nursing students because one of the first major grants that we received here when I started writing grants for our institution was for our human patient simulators. And that's something that I knew nothing about when we began that grant proposal, but there was a team of about 10 of us that met on a regular basis, and we put together a proposal that was funded and allowed us to create a new lab here at the university. So it can be a really fun process. It's a communal process. And it's also a process that takes time, because engaging all those people, you have to be able to plan ahead, to gather them together. It can feel like herding cats, but you will learn a lot in the process, and it will be a lot of fun. So I just want to encourage you, if you're one of those people who doesn't feel comfortable writing, but you feel comfortable gathering a group, you should really try writing a proposal. It would be a wonderful way to do a group project together. I wanted to start by saying that it's important when you think about writing your proposal to clearly identify the need that you have. And this is something that your group will help you with, I think, as well. But I put up a picture here of a sculpture that's on our campus. It's a sculpture that highlights 7 miracles of Christ, healing miracles of Christ. And I actually think there's kind of a biblical basis for this part of proposal writing, in the sense that Christ was a spectacular identifier of people's needs. People would identify needs incorrectly all the time and say, well, this person needs to be forgiven of sins, or this person needs to straighten out their life. And Christ knew what they actually needed was a healing touch, or someone to listen to them, or physical healing. So he met them where they were. He understood clearly what they needed. He was able to articulate that and to meet those needs. So the first part of writing any proposal, I think, after you've got your group together and you've started to talk about what you're going to write your grant about or for, is to clearly identify what your needs are. And I wanted to say, too, that I think sometimes people tend to find a grant that they think looks really great, and then they try to smash their need into the mold of the grant. And I would really caution you against that. I think it's really important to start with a clear sense of your needs as an institution or as a person, as an organization, and then try to find a grant that matches your needs or a funder that matches your needs. Because eventually, if your grant is funded, you'll have to do the thing you said you were going to do in the proposal. And if it doesn't actually meet a need at your organization, it may turn out to be wasted time, or you may not be able to do that project ultimately. So it's really important to have a clear sense of what the need is that you're trying to meet with this funding. I also wanted to mention that something I love about grant writing is that no two grants are alike. I've got a picture of a snowflake up here. I grew up in Maine, grew up in a lot of snow, and I can report, having shoveled thousands and thousands and thousands of snowflakes, that there are no two that are alike, and grants are exactly the same way. So once you know what your need is and you have that clearly defined, people often come to me here and say, tell me what to do now. Give me the 10 steps that I need to do in order to write a grant proposal to meet this need. And the very first thing I say is that no two grants are alike. I can't give you the 10 steps to always take in order to write a successful proposal. You will find that there will be a wide range of funders that may be interested in your need. Some of them may be private foundations, some of them may be individuals, corporations, federal funding, state funding, and every single one of those is completely different. So every process is going to be different. So the first thing that I can say that's really important is when you do your research and you find a grant you'd like to pursue, it's really important that you get to understand the audience or the person who's going to be reading your proposal ultimately, because again, no two audiences are the same. And so I put up a picture here. Again, I want to just reference the fact that I think there's a biblical basis for this, that Christ at the age of 12 could talk to Pharisees, and he could talk to scholars, and he could talk to teachers in a language that impressed them, but he could also tell stories and parables about sheep and farmers and vineyards and things that regular people in his day could understand. So I think Christ was a master of understanding his audience. It was important to him. He listened. He wore out thousands of pairs of sandals, walking all over to meet people and talk to them and hear what their interests were. And so as a proposal writer, you will have to have that skill as well, the ability to visit the foundations that you're interested in applying to, the ability to talk to people who work at those foundations, to listen to what their interests are, and to shape your proposal and your story to meet the interests and the needs of those audiences. So I just wanted to mention that that's a really important first step. And that often drives the kind of data that you'll include in your proposal. So you have a need that you're able to express. You've found an audience that you think is a good fit for that need, that they might be interested in what you have to say. And now you have to put together a proposal that's compelling in some way to that audience. And so I wanted to mention that compelling data can come in many forms, and you probably need to have some of each in order to make a compelling proposal. The first of those is data that is coming in the form of numbers. It is often important to funders to be able to hear the statistics associated with your organization or with your plan. And I just wanted to have three kind of words here that I emphasize when it comes to numbers and data. The first is that they have to be relevant. That seems kind of obvious, but you want to pick that data that is clearly related to outlining your need. It has to be recent in most cases, and it's also good to give people a range of some kind. So data over time that helps them to understand how you've grown, what you've been doing. And so for some audiences, numbers, percentages, statistics, this will be really important, really compelling to them. The government is a great example of a funder who likes statistics. So you'll have to have some kind of mastery of that, or someone in your group who has mastery of that who can help you present those. And I wanted to mention that a picture, this is a tired statement, but a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you can present those statistics or those pieces of data in a way that is visually arresting or interesting, imagine yourself being the person reading your own proposal, and sometimes tens of in some cases 80, 90 pages of words can get exhausting for anyone, even if you have the most spectacular idea in the world. So I would really encourage you to think about presenting that kind of compelling data in a visually interesting way, and kind of breaking up your words with some graphs or other types of visuals. But the compelling data that I'm most drawn to is stories. I love stories. As an English major, I loved to read them and I love to tell them. And so think about data not just in terms of statistics and numbers, but also in terms of stories. And private foundations, individual funders, they love to hear stories. We all love to hear stories. And again, those have to be relevant to your need. It's great if they're recent, and also really great if they're detailed, if you can provide as much detail as possible. And I put up this picture of some of our graduates here at Adventist University because we can talk about those graduates in terms of statistics. So I can give you numbers of graduates since the beginning of the school. I can talk about numbers of graduates from programs, how many have gone on to get jobs in their field. But I can also tell you compelling stories about each one of those individual graduates, and sometimes it takes a balance of both types of data in order to move a funder to be interested in your need, in your project. So think about presenting data that kind of covers all of those bases, particularly dependent upon the audience that you're speaking to. I wanted to mention this book, which has been really powerful for me personally because I tend toward the storytelling data. It's called Storytelling for Grant Seekers, and I just put the cover here. This particular author tries to help you to see grant writing and proposal writing as storytelling, and I think it makes it more fun, actually, but I think it also makes for a more compelling case in the end. So in terms of storytelling, you think about storytelling and narrative, and that has elements, character, setting, and plot. So the truth is that applies to proposal writing as well. Your characters, for us, our characters are often our students who have particular needs. Our setting is our school, and we want to be able to describe that setting in such a way that someone who's never been here would kind of understand it, understand where we're located, understand what our community is like, understand what our student body is like, and then think of the plot as describing your need and your proposed solution to that need. And a really good book has a plot that can kind of grab you and create tension, and you want to know how it's resolved, and you're kind of pulled into the story. And some people think of proposal writing as quite dull, but the truth is that if you put together a proposal that can pull the reader in and create tension and make them interested in your need, and make them want to see how you're going to solve that need, then you might, with some funders, have a better chance of getting funded. So this is just one way of thinking of proposal writing, thinking of it as writing a story with characters and a setting and a plot. And try that and see if it might organize the proposal a little bit. I can't say this enough, but you have to have people who are willing to read your proposal at stages along the way, who are willing to read it when it's finished. It's very hard to ask for feedback, especially if someone goes at your proposal with a red pen, like I have the picture here, but it is so important that you have people who can read your writing, and particularly people who know nothing about the topic of your proposal. Those people can easily identify areas where you're not saying enough, or areas where you're writing something that's sort of confusing. And then, of course, if you have people who've written that particular type of grant before for that particular type of funder, whether it be federal or state or a private foundation, it's absolutely crucial to get feedback from those people. Ask them how you can improve your writing. So that's something I do constantly. I do it along the way. I do it at the end. I ask for as much feedback as possible, and it inevitably improves the writing. So I couldn't say that enough, but I'll move on to the next slide. But it is really